This is a 2001 Harley-Davidson fuel-injected Fat Boy. We're going to go over the details, specifically the upgrades as well as any imperfections in the finish. So let's start at the top here. These handlebars, if you look at them, these are pistol grip, also known as rabbit ear style handlebars. And this bike still has the stock bars, but I found that I like these better for two reasons. Every other stock bar has you riding in various heights like this, okay? But the inside tendon on my elbows in particular, on both sides are bad. So I needed a bike that would allow me to ride like this, okay? With this position, there is no strain on my elbow whatsoever. There's one drawback. I also like the aesthetics of these. There's one drawback, and that is at a very slow parking lot speed, you don't have as much leverage to turn the bike. So this is not a set of handlebars for the faint of bicep. Now, I weigh between 150 and 160 pounds usually, and I can manage this, but not everybody's going to be able to muscle these hand grips. But that's the one thing. The other thing on the bar is that these are heated hand grips, and makes it very handy because you can usually ride a few degrees colder. And this is the dial. You can turn it on, and then you can actually dial it here to adjust the temperature, the amount of heat that you're going to get to the hand grips. So if you're riding maybe in the fall and you don't like gloves, this allows you to ride without them a little bit colder. If you are in the winter time, I ride year round and I've got thick gloves on. This gives me a little bit more warmth, so I find these are very handy. Because of the handlebars, they're not as wide. These are long stem mirrors. This bike does still have the stock mirrors. This is a RAM mount for your cell phone, so that and it's right in the front. If you'll notice, on the mount itself, I put a little piece of cloth here so that it's gripping onto the cloth and not compromising any of the chrome finish. Now, here we have the stock turn signals coming off of this headlight area on the forks. Down here, you'll notice I don't like to ride with the fender purely for aesthetics. This bike still has the fender. There's one thing that's very special about these wheels, and that is most of the time spoke wheels will not be able to accept a tubeless tire, because where the spokes come in, through the rim here, there's no seal, whereas a forged wheel, you can put a tubeless tire in there. However, these wheels actually have a seal all around where the spokes enter the rim. So these are tubeless tires that are running on this rim. There's no tube within these tires. And why that makes a difference is because if you puncture a tubeless tire, you stick a plug in it and you go. You puncture a tire with a tube in it, now you've got to wreck the bike, pop off the wheel, work the tire off, replace the tube, keep going. God forbid that happens a couple times in a row. This is the classic Fat Boy fat headlight, which I really like the look of. These are the highway bars along with the foot pegs on them. Now let's go into a couple other things going further down. This tank actually has 3-inch lifts on them, and that's it from this side, as well as show you from this side. It's a little more clear, right? And that's nice for two reasons. Number one, it allows more airflow to come in over the top of the cylinder heads. So you'll notice, like if you have a chopper, there's a lot of space between the bottom of the tank and the top of the cylinder heads. Well, and the engine actually is probably bigger but runs cooler because you've got all that airflow. Well, the stock tank positioning is right up above, or right sitting on these top cylinder heads, and this engine was run really hot, okay? But when I give that little bit of relief here, a few inches of relief, it runs a little bit cooler now, okay? It does have LEDs. We'll take a look at them later. It has the stock air filter cover, and you can obviously replace that, but I would caution you on replacing it, because the cool looking covers, you know, the spikes or the two double knobs and stuff like that, they expose a lot of the air filter itself, which means if you get caught in the rain, you have a chance of getting perhaps water in through there that you don't want to get in there. This is fuel injected, so you'll have no problems starting it or riding it in, as the conditions change, altitude and temperature, etc. Everything on here is fairly stock. These are upgraded Vance and Heinz pipes. We're going to take a listen to them in a little bit. For those of you who are not aware, the stock Harley pipes are not actually loud. Most people upgrade these, as have I, and these are the Vance and Heinz, and they sound pretty good. It does have a set of passenger pegs here, and on the other side, as well as a sissy bar. Okay, this side here, speaking of engine cooling, this is an oil cooler that helps the oil cycles through, and it cools the oil off. So that lets you run it a little bit cooler as well. This is a trumpet style air horn, and this is much louder than the stock horn. Let's take another look at it from here. This came off of a big dog motorcycle, and I just think it looks better. So that's there. These are the Screaming Eagle plugs, and stock primary. This is a 2-up seat, which is very handy to carry a passenger. Has a sissy bar here so that you could put a spare helmet on here. So if you do need to take a passenger, you've got the spare helmet, you've got the seat, and so forth. This right here is actually what I did. I like the wing nut here, the wing bolt actually, because the stock bolt, if I'm doing my own maintenance, and so I'm constantly having to take this on and off, and I just want to do it by hand, and I didn't want to have to keep using the screwdriver. However, if you wanted a chrome finished, more elegant looking bolt, then this can be easily replaced. This is a custom fender on the back. As you can see, the stock Fat Boy fender will go down about here. You can't see any of the tire, but here, if you're riding behind, you can see a decent amount of the tire there, which I like. And I don't care if it's skinny tire, because a lot of the bobbers have skinny tires, and I think they look pretty cool. This is an aftermarket rear strut, because these are aftermarket lights. And let's go ahead and take a look at this. Turn it on. And these are 3-way lights, so if I brake here, they're going to vibrate, right? So I get the benefit of both the rear light, brake light, as well as these. And let's go ahead and hit the LEDs while we're at it. And so that's what the LEDs are going to look like. Pretty nice in the evening time. So going back around the bike, so these are LEDs also. They're thinner, and they're both the turn signal as well as, so if I do the right turn signal, right, as well as the brake lights. Now, in this brake light, it's been left here because it's very easy if you wanted to actually replace this fender with something even smaller. You could actually take this out, unplug the wires. You could cut them, but I'd rather just unplug them here, and then you can tuck them into the staples that are already in the fender that are used to, kind of guide the other wires around. So this is actually removable, and then you can replace this fender. Now, these 3 holes are for the stock license, but I moved it over here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I like the aerodynamics of having the wind just kind of cut through that plate. Whereas if you put it this way or this way off to the side, the plate is catching some wind. Number two, from the back, right? You don't get caught by those pesky speed cameras or those red light cameras or anything like that. Now, if you need something to be, I guess, legal for your state, this bike does have a little bracket that comes out that will allow this license plate, instead of being like this, to be like this, okay? And this bike also has the stock license plate holder back here as well. So you can do that. I like this configuration. Now the stock, the aftermarket little bracket, that's just a little thin bracket that you'll see. It's not like the full encasing style of license plate holder. And there's no rust on this frame. There's no rust on here. There's really no rust anywhere in the bike except for a couple places in that where the screws are, because it's very hard to prevent the rust from getting into all the screws. All right, let's go ahead and fire it up, see what the exhaust sounds like, and see what the horn sounds like. All right, so exhaust first.